everyone, welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith, and today I'm excited to be revisiting Massive Darkness 2 once again. Due to popular demand here on the channel, there was a number of individuals in the community, actually quite a ton, from the original play I did of the tutorial, walking you through how the game plays and learning it, and then we dived into a one-shot scenario, and there was still interest in both of those plays to see the campaign mode. Well, that's what I have right here in front of us. This is the campaign mode expansion called Heavenfall. This is a retail box. You can pick this up in retail just like the Massive Darkness 2 core box, and you'll need both of those in order to enjoy this campaign mode expansion. Now, I will be adding just a couple things in from the crowdfunding campaign, but nothing that's going to change gameplay. Just some proxy things in terms of the health markers. I'm actually going to be using some health markers from Arcadia Quest because I love those hearts so much better than the tokens. And of course, I'll be bringing in the more cooler style marbleized dice from the campaign, but beyond that, nothing gameplay centric is going to be switched out, so you can literally enjoy the exact same experience you're about to see in this series with the core box and this Heavenfall expansion. So without further ado, let's talk about the booklet that comes inside of this box and get ourselves set up to go on a campaign. Now, it's worth mentioning, if you do want to check out the tutorial scenario that I played through to help you learn the game, or the one-shot scenario, I'll link to the entire showcase I've done to date up in the top right-hand corner, so you can go check those out first to get a good base understanding of how Massive Darkness 2 operates before you start adding this layer of a campaign mode on top of it. From the depths of the Infernal Realm to the heights of heaven, the Massive Darkness 2 Heavenfall campaign takes players all across the realms eternal as they pursue the source of the supernal realm's involvement in the current Massive Darkness. Only by battling their way through the corrupted hordes can the Lightbringers hope to discover the true source of the darkness. The Heavenfall expansion campaign mode introduces a new way to play Massive Darkness 2, allowing players to develop their heroes further than ever before with 5 additional levels and taking them on a journey where they can choose their path to discover what's behind heaven's corruption. The Heavenfall campaign consists of 14 interconnected quests from which players explore 8 in the course of each playthrough. Some quests are brand new, while others take place in the Infernal Realm and present a new twist on quests from Hellscape. The Heavenfall campaign features 3 possible endings based on the player's decisions, but beware, if the players lose the same quest 3 times, they lose the campaign. Now, it mentions down here in the bottom right-hand corner that Massive Darkness 2 Heavenfall also introduces a bustling town filled with options for players to explore. As a home for the Lightbringers between quests, they will have access to the town's services, allowing heroes to purchase specific items, buy potions for the next adventure, or even gamble. Now, inside of the booklet on the next page, it goes over the basic concepts of what this campaign adds in. It's going to talk about dice, skill cards, items, new item sets, enemies that are coming into the fray, new game tiles, the town, the campaign cards, all that kind of stuff is discussed here at a high level. I'll be covering all of these aspects as we move through setup and play. So now we have a much better understanding of what the campaign entails. We know how many quests there are. We know that we're not going to see every single quest in one run. We know there's multiple endings, so you'll need to play this multiple times to see everything. And on top of all that, we have the ability to replay the same quest up to 3 times. If we fail on that 3rd attempt, the campaign is over, and that is how it is lost. So keep that in mind. And as we go through the setup here, there's just some additional instructions specific to the campaign mode you need to keep your eye on for the new components, and some adjustments, of course, to the core experience setup. So we'll be going ahead and starting with the first canned scenario, which you see, you don't get a choice. You're starting with quest A, but from there, we're going to be able to make decisions as we go along through the flowchart. You'll see there's arrows depicting where we go through. There's certain spots where, let's say, we're choosing 2 quests out of a bunch of 4 of them and continuing along the way. So we're going to be setting up quest A, and the gameplay flows with a campaign phase, a quest phase, and a town phase. I've already gone ahead and touched on the campaign phase, and that is going ahead and selecting which quest we're going to play. And as I mentioned, we already know which one that is going to be. So I'm going to be going and flipping this booklet 1 page further to find the setup instructions, and then I'm literally going to set up everything on the game table. We won't walk you through it like I did with my one-shot scenario and tutorial earlier on. We're just going to get everything set up to the table, and I'm going to start highlighting the new things that come from this campaign mode. One thing that's important to mention is that when you begin your campaign, once you've chosen your hero and class, those cannot be changed for the duration of the campaign. And just like that, Quest A, first investigation, is set up here on the table. What I'm going to do right now is stop the setup, and we are going to go over all the high-level aspects of what the campaign brings into the experience. It's worth mentioning when you're setting up for any quest inside the campaign, you're going to follow the core rulebook in terms of the steps for setup, but you're going to also look inside the Heavenfall booklet as well, the expansion booklet, and it's going to detail out a number of changes or modifications to the setup to get you going for the campaign. We're going to talk about those 10 specific things right now. The very first one is the level tokens. You'll see here that the level tokens are different inside the Heavenfall campaign, so ensure that you place those tokens inside your character dashboards rather than the ones from the core box, as they have levels 1 through 5 on one side and 6 through 10 on the other. Inside the treasure bag, instead of the regular number of treasure tokens that are told to be placed in by the core game rules, you're instead going to place 10 common treasure tokens and 1 rare treasure token inside this bag. The third thing to do is to place a town dashboard near the playing area, because heroes are going to interact with the town after each successful quest. So we're not going to interact with this right now, but in between quests, we're going to jump into the town phase. Step number 4 is all around the campaign cards. Spoilers abound in here, so do not shuffle this deck, just place it face down. There's numerical values on the backs of the cards, and as you go through quests, you'll be called upon to draw from this deck, usually by specific numbers. Now, it wouldn't be a campaign expansion if it didn't expand upon the levels that you can potentially run through inside of this dungeon experience. So the core game runs from levels 1 through 5. The Heavenfall expansion is going to add 6 through 10. So you're going to want to set up all of the roaming monster cards and mob cards as well for each level. It's worth mentioning you're going to have a new mob and new roaming monster coming into the fray, so you will have some additional cards to add into those level decks 1 through 5 from the core game. Basically just shuffle them in based on their card back color and you're ready to go. So with the roaming monster decks, with the mob cards, and with these mob item cards, ensure that you shuffle all of these decks individually. The merging and sorting of cards don't stop there. You're going to have a brand new legendary treasure deck to place out with the common, rare, and epic treasures. Plus, you're going to have some epic treasures to shuffle in. So just use the card backs, create the 4 decks, and give them a good shuffle. Number 7 is all about the starting items. Heroes only gain the starting equipment from Hellscape when playing the first quest in the campaign. When playing from the second quest onwards, each hero can bring up to 7 items at a time. Step number 9 is all about removing some cards from the door deck. And you have the door deck up here, the brown backed deck. You're going to take out Learning Room, Hell's Army, Light Chamber, Weapons Cache Room, Blood Ritual Room, and Treasure Trap Room. Those cards are going to be removed from the door deck completely and not used during the campaign, and that leads us to the final step around the darkness track. The final step is randomly drawing 3 treasure tokens from the treasure bag. Remember, inside the treasure bag for the campaign, you have 10 common treasures and 1 rare. I've already drawn 3 out. They were all common. They are going to be placed on the 3 treasure spots on the darkness track. So I'm going to be placing them right on top. You'll notice normally it's a rare and then 2 epics following afterwards. Again, because you're now part of a campaign, the structure in which you gain those higher tier treasures is going to slow down. All the treasure tokens have been placed on the darkness track, and now we can move past the steps needed to set up the campaign. Quest A First Investigation has some flavor text here, which states, 10 years have passed since the quelling of the massive darkness invasion. The Lightbringer company has established itself in Krondar as peacekeepers and champions of good. The Council of Krondar was formed by representatives from across the nations, and prosperity reigns. But this fragile harmony will not last. Disturbing reports have come to the Lightbringer company out of the far reaches, telling of monsters and foul creatures appearing and harassing a nearby town. Rumors say that a portal appeared in the wilderness from which the townsfolk suspect the beasts are emerging. A party of Lightbringers has been sent to investigate and close the portal before any more damage can be done. Now, speaking of a party, I want to go over the two characters that I've selected. I have a Ranger and a Berserker. This is the Ranger. The Ranger comes in with an arrow card deck, and I've already gone ahead and I've picked up the level 1 card, which I want of the 3 available. Now, it's also worth mentioning as part of setup for the campaign also includes skills that go past the available skills from the original base game. So you'll see the deck almost doubles in size in terms of how many skills a particular character has moving forward, because of course this campaign is going to go on much longer. Very cool to see that. The other party member, as I mentioned, is the Berserker, and I've started him off with a crude axe. He's also set in the reckless stance up there, and he's got a charge 1 ability, which I chose for level 1. Same as the Ranger, which you just saw moments ago, another deck going further along in the skill set from 7 and above, thanks to the Heavenfall campaign. Make sure to keep all those cards, and honestly, you can stack them in one giant pile if you wish. I've kept them separate here just to show you how many new ones come into the fray. Let's turn our attention to the quest objectives. We have to do these in order. The first one is ritual scrolls. We need to gather all the scrolls inside the dungeon. Then we need to close the portal or destroy the rift. We do that, we win the scenario. Now down here it says quest special rules, the ritual scrolls. In order to close the rift, players need the scrolls. The scrolls are represented by the objective tokens on the map. I will show you that in a moment. Any hero may spend 1 movement point while standing in an objective token zone to gather the scroll. Scrolls may be traded like items between the characters. On the far right hand side it mentions the rift. The portal token in the bottommost chamber is the rift. It does not follow the regular rules for portals. This portal token is only used to represent the rift. So it's just indicating that portal in the bottom chamber is not going to be used as normal. It's going to just be specific for this quest. It's basically only for that final one here, that final objective to close the rift itself. Now, speaking of closing the rift, it says any hero holding both scrolls may spend 1 action while standing in the rift zone to destroy the rift. So you'll see there might be the potential to trade, and we might have to trade those scrolls to get it to, well, we have to 1 character to do that final closing. And as a side quest, we have nooks and crannies. It says we should investigate the whole dungeon. We might find something interesting. So the condition is we have to reveal all the chambers that are out there. The reward, only if we win, is going to be we get to draw campaign card 8. So that might be something we want to keep our eye on. Now here's a quick overview of the game board, and of course I've already set this up, but I'll show you here. We have a number of different portals, but they don't come into play unless the player counts are 3+ or 5+, so these two do not exist. Remember again, the bottommost rift token is just simply there to represent the rift, that's it. The actual roaming monster portal token, purple, is sitting there, and we also have 1 trap sitting there, a nice spike trap. We also have our objective tokens that we're focused on, because the scrolls are what we need to grab. So we need to grab both of these scrolls starting in this position right here based on the hero marker there. Once we have both of the scrolls, we head down to this final chamber at the bottom. Now again, this is just an introductory quest. This is the first one in the campaign. It keeps things quite light, quite easy in terms of its size, and there's also not a lot added in. But once you get past quest number A, things really start to expand. Now you'll also notice down here in the corridor we have a white icon which represents a starting mob zone. So we do have to pull a level 1 to 2 mob card and grab a mob item that attaches based on its level and find out who's roaming the halls to start off our quest. Our starting mob is a group of infernal imps, and the leader is carrying a precision bow. We also pulled a treasure token from the bag, and it was a common one. The infernal imps have come through the portal and have arrived in the corridor space. Their card has been set up at the very top of the screen. The next thing I'm going to do, which you may have noticed as I was going through the game table here, is I haven't placed out any health for my 2 characters yet, my 2 heroes. I only have mana placed. I'm going to grab those heart tokens right now. Again, these come from Arcadia quests. They are not part of the base game. They just pop a little bit nicer. On the left-hand side, the Berserker has 7 health and 2 mana, and on the right-hand side, the Ranger has 5 health and 2 mana. The Heavenfall campaign also brings in 2 new armor sets. Besides the one that comes in the core box on the far left, which is called the Shadowbane armor set, we have the Darkbringer and the Hellfire. The Hellfire focuses on fire damage and that fire token condition and controlling fire. The Darkbringer set focuses on shadow and automatic damage infliction from powerful effects. Finally, just want to touch on the skill cards. I mentioned them earlier. You have new ones coming in from 7 and above from the campaign. But inside of those new skill cards, for each and every hero, you're going to have hybrid skills. And these skills are going to have requirements on them that specify 2 different skills required at lower levels. So in this case here, you'll see for Trial of Blood, it says Charge and Payback are required, both at their respective ranks. So that's going to be a little bit different than what you are used to from the core box experience, but it's worth highlighting. You'll see on the Infernal Imps that I placed a common treasure on it. Well, the rules state for enemy rewards that all mobs reward 0 treasure tokens and all roaming monsters reward 1 treasure token. And that's regardless of enemy levels or any reward icons that might appear on the card. So because of this, we're taking that common treasure and placing it right back in the treasure bag. Seeing as we're on the topic of treasure, we might as well talk about loot. Loot exists inside of chambers, inside of the quests, and during a campaign, you're going to handle these tokens differently than you would the core box experience with those standalone scenarios. In the core box experience, when you go into a chamber, you're going to take the loot tokens and change them out for a treasure token from the treasure bag. However, during the campaign, you're not going to do this. These loot tokens will stay put, and a hero can go up to them and interact with them in order to pick them up, which then they can be used during the town phase later on, and I'll talk more about how that works. So for now, just gathering them is all you can do. The campaign also introduces 2 new types of dice. One is a red die, which is going to be a much stronger attack die, and a green die, which is a much stronger defense die. So now your pool of dice and their tiers have increased. And there are some other elements that we'll run into as we go through gameplay, but for now, let's go ahead and begin round number 1. I'm going to choose to have the Berserker go first, and there is a door in the space, so we're going to do a move action, get 2 movement points from that move action, use one of them to crack the door open. Inside, we found an aura chamber. This is a good one. It says Courage. The active hero may keep this card until the end of the quest and discard it when attacking to gain attack +2 yellow. We have 1 enemy token just inside of the door in the first area, so we have to resolve that. That's going to bring in some fire entities, and the leader is going to be carrying a skeleton blade. Fire entities are waiting for us inside of the chamber. The next thing that we check on is any loot tokens, but again, during the campaign and during play of the campaign, we're going to leave loot tokens alone. They do not change to treasure tokens like they do in the core box experience. Also, we are not placing any treasures indicated on the mob cards on the mobs themselves either. With the Berserker's final movement point, goes bursting through the door, and we are going to start wielding the crude axe to try and do some damage. I've gone ahead and assembled the dice pool. I'll just explain it really quickly for those that have not watched my prior videos. Basically, you have a leader here. The leader is represented by a defensive die in most cases, a blue here. And then the minions that are around the leader, of which there's always equal to the number of heroes when they first come out, they each get a black die. So that's how the enemy pool is created. For me as a hero, I'm using the crude axe, so I simply just looked at my inventory, and really right now I'm pretty bare bones, so I only have this. Right down here it says orange die 1. And of course you got to look to make sure that it's a ranged melee or whatever type of attack you're trying to do. In this case it's melee. I'm in the right spot for that. So that's my orange die, and I've got a shadow die because I'm in a dark spot. Shadow dice are nice. They can ping pong off a number of different abilities and give me some bonuses or land some serious swords if I get lucky. Let's go ahead and roll these off and see how we do. Hoping for a decent roll because I don't really have too many dice in this pool. Hey, we got some. There we, oh, interesting. So now I'll go through resolving a dice roll for those that don't know how this works. Basically look for the black dice first because you're going to resolve those right away. Again, if you have the ability to re-roll anything like that, you can do that prior to resolving dice, but right now I don't have that. So we're going to go ahead and just resolve things. So looking at the black dice first, this one means nothing. We can take it out of the way. And we've got 2 symbols on this. One relates potentially to something ability-wise on the mob itself. So you'll see combat 1, meaning it can trigger this hand symbol 1 time, which it will, to add 1 fire condition to the attacking or defending hero. So I am that hero, so the Berserker is going to be getting one fire condition we're going to have to deal with later on, so that's not fun. This little scratch mark there, that is a wound that goes straight through no matter what you have defense-wise. It goes right into your health and takes out one of your health, so I'm down to 6. Not the best. That leaves us with 3 swords that I got against 1 shield that they have, meaning 2 hits got through. That's not enough to kill one of the fire entities. It's just shy, as they need 3 each to be taken down. Now, my next thought around this is to potentially do something a little bit nuts, and that's mainly to clear up this room so that we have a little bit of an easier time and don't lose too much health going through these enemies. I could, although this is probably better to use at a different time, use that door card that I got that allows me to add 2 yellow dice to an attack because I wasn't really all that successful in taking out at least one of the minions. If I had done that, this die pool for my 3rd action, which I want to take right now, which will be another attack action, my final action, we'll see both of these staying here because both of the minions are still in play. However, if I had gotten 3 health, it would have killed one off and one of the black dice would have disappeared. So in order to kind of make the odds in my favor just a little bit better, I'm going to probably use that aura chamber to bring in those yellow dice and hope that we can get a lot more swords off this roll. I'm hoping for that anyway, so we'll see. Usually you would keep something like this for a bigger enemy or for a time when you're in really kind of dire straits, but I thought this would be a good time to illustrate using that bonus right away. Gets discarded and out of play. We're going to go ahead and roll the die, and just so you know, we have, well, this is our 3rd action, so the final one for the Berserker. Okay. The Berserker is having a very, very bad day. 2 health taken off. So just like that, we've already lost 3 health. Good thing I chose to take a health potion as one of my starting items because I might have to use that, seeing as how nasty this whole thing has gone. We take those out of the equation and we're left with 4 swords, which is okay, not that great, but not even worse against 2 shields. So only 2 gets through right now, but at least that kills off one of the minions, and it will be able to place the additional damage working towards the next minion. So one of the fire entities has been taken out. We've gained 1 XP for the Berserker, and something I need to note that's special about how the Berserker works is every time you lose health, like I did in the prior action and just now from all those nasty wounds I got through, those health are not just discarded off to the side until you bring them back once you heal. They actually go up into this area up here, which is the rage area for the Berserker, and essentially you have them as currency to then spend to utilize this area, which is going to be really cool. So I've built up some rage thanks to being beat up there in that room, so it's not all bad. Now, some characters would take damage and it wouldn't really calculate out to be anything positive beyond them losing health and getting closer to dying off and taking out the Lightbringer token, of which we only have 1 for the whole party. In other words, 1 hero can go down, we can keep going. Once the second one goes down, we're out. Now, if 1 hero goes down, that hero can come back up using the Lightbringer token, and we can continue with 2 heroes. But if that second one goes down, it's game over. But the reason I mention all of that is because a Berserker can just generate more currency for its abilities based on it being hurt. So of all the characters to get hurt, that's not a bad one. With my turn over, I could go ahead and use the health potion before I ended off to heal back up, which wouldn't be all that bad of an idea. However, I really want to hold on to that for a situation that's really nasty, so I'm going to bet on the fact the Ranger's going to be able to clean up the mess left behind. Here's a look at the Ranger loadout, and I want to make mention of the fact it has an additional movement point when it chooses to take a move action. For Shadow, if it gets that icon, you draw and discard an arrow card and apply its best effect. That's really cool, but we'll discuss very soon because I'm about to do a ranged attack from just outside the doorway to inside that chamber against those fire entities. I'm going to be using a ranged attack, and whenever the Ranger does a ranged attack, you can draw arrow cards. I'm going to discuss how that all works right now. I begun gathering the pool of dice for this first ranged attack. It's a yellow die, which is because I'm using the short bow. So I've got that. There's 1 minion and there is 1 leader with a blue die for defense. So I've got those 3. I'm not in a shadow zone with the Ranger. I'm shooting from outside the chamber into the chamber. I'm standing in a light zone, so I don't get that purple die, unfortunately. But I do get the ability to pull ranger cards and add ranger cards based on the number of arrows on the cards and how well I do, based on them being less than 7, more than 7, or exactly 7. You're trying to hit exactly 7 to get the best possible effect combination with your attack. If you get less than 7, it's still a decent quick shot ranged attack. It's just not as strong. And if you get more than 7 arrows, well, in that case, you've kind of overloaded it. You've kind of pulled the bow back too far, and maybe the shot is just a little bit off. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to draw some cards here, but first we'll roll the dice. Literally, this is my pool right here. So we're going for it and hoping for good things. Things are fairly light on my side for dice, so this may not work out. Worst. So we got ourselves a wound. Now, just before we go ahead and resolve this, we'll do the arrow cards. We'll show you how this works. We pull one over like this, and we got a 3, so that's pretty good. 3 arrows. We don't really worry about the bottom portion just yet, but if you want to start thinking about, what do you want to take or go after, remember, if you hit higher, or if you hit exactly 7, you're going to get the best top row across with that icon. Everything that shows up in the top row for all the cards you pull over, if you land 7 total arrows by the time you flip over that final card, you can keep going to try to get to 7, but that risk is if you go over 7, you drop down to this broken arrow below and take all the worst conditions or effects with your attack. So now your attack has kind of gone awry, could actually even hurt you, or you basically stop short. Like I can choose right now, I flip one card and I can be like, I'm done. I don't want to go any further. Doesn't make much sense odds-wise because there's 3, 2, and 1 on each card, so makes sense to go one more card further. But still, if you decided to stop, you would be short from 7, so you take the middle rung. Let's go ahead and do one more, see where we're at. Ooh, okay, so from here, we could safely take another one if we want to. So I'm going to go ahead and take one more. Okay, and that's probably where I'll stop. I think going any further won't be productive for me. So we're going to stop right here, which is going to be a total of 5. Oh, it's so tempting. Do I think I could pull another card and get a perfect shot? I kind of want to try it. Let's go ahead and see if we get 2. Yes, we got it. That's awesome. So we got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we can take the top one here. It says Defender takes 2 fire conditions. Defender takes 2 fire conditions. We gain 2 mana, and we can spend 1 mana to add 2 swords to the attack. So basically how this will be resolved is I can choose which ones I want to resolve. So I'm going to choose to use this one first for the use a mana to gain 2 swords. So we'll just put that up there so we don't forget about it. We'll spend the mana. Then I'm going to take the +2 mana, but again, you can't go over your mana maximum, which is 2, but this at least brings back the mana. So this one is now resolved. These are all going to go in a discard pile until the arrow card deck is completely depleted and it gets reshuffled and brought back again anyway. This I'm just placing here so I remember to add 2 to this final tally. And then we have Defender takes 2, Defender takes 2, so we're taking 4 fire condition tokens on the fire entities. They are probably not too happy with that. Now you're probably wondering what the specific terminology is for the 3 different tiers. I was kind of using them loosely. Basically, if you're less than 7 arrows, it's considered a quick shot. It's almost like you shot your ranged attack really quickly. So it's effective, but it's not as effective as it could have been with a bullseye at the proper pullback. And that's what a 7 is. If you land a 7 exactly like I just did, that's a bullseye. It's the best possible shot you can get, not only accuracy-wise, but power-wise. It's the entire thing you want to see really every time. And then the other option is you could potentially push your luck so far that you actually overload, which is higher than 7, meaning that you potentially break your arrow or it goes awry and something basically bad happens. So that's the push your luck element for the Ranger, which is pretty cool. And again, as it depletes, you shuffle it back in the deck and keep going. We're going to go ahead and resolve the rest of this right now. So taking a look here at this, we definitely get a wound. So we're going to take 1 hit for that die. And we have 2 here plus 1. Defensive 1, so 2 damage getting through to the enemies. They already have 1. That's going to be enough to kill off a minion at 3 wounds. Another minion is down, which means there's only the leader left. And on top of it, look at all those fire condition tokens that ended up on that space. We're going to be rolling for those when the fire entities activate in the future. And if we get really lucky, we'll get enough damage just generated from the fire damage to potentially kill them. But they are fire entities. They might not be hurt as much. We'll have to see what the dice have for us. It's also worth mentioning that the Ranger goes up 1 experience, just like the Berserker did when the Berserker killed off a minion. And we're all squared away. We still technically have 2 actions with the Ranger. I'm glad I caught this just before making my second attack because I have an ability that I chose. For each 3 arrows that were revealed, the defender gets -1 shield. So because I hit 7 arrows, I'd be able to take away 2 shields from the defender's roll or abilities. Now what's awesome is they only rolled 1. But 1 is still good. So 1 means that I have 1 additional damage that actually got through and was not blocked. So that 1 damage is going on the leader. The leader now has 1 damage, only needs 2 more to be taken out. And that makes the idea of doing an attack action, another range shot, even more enticing. The dice pool for this one, when you're going up against just a leader, so much easier. No more black dice involved, so you don't have to worry about those wonderful black attacks hitting you and going straight through your armor and doing damage to you, which I love. So we're going to go ahead and roll this off and see how we do. All right, we got 1 through. That's awesome. And we get to continue with these ranged arrow cards. We're going to go ahead and keep flipping them until I'm satisfied. Oh my gosh, I was wrong. There's a 4 in there. Yikes. I thought it only went up to 3. It actually goes up to 4. So I was, maybe it goes even higher than that. Now I'm actually even more stressed out that I was incorrect on that. So here we go. We got 4 right out of the gates. I'll go 1 more because there can't, yikes. This could be bad. 2. Okay, that's probably where I'll stop. I could risk it and try to hope for the 1, but I think that's pretty good. So I'm less than 7. So I go to the middle tier here, which says I gain some mana if I'd like, but I also can take away a shield. That's not going to help me in this attack whatsoever at all. And I don't get to gain any additional mana because I'm already at my max. So really, it's just the 1 hit going through, which doesn't kill the leader, but puts it at 2 damage. And I'm going to stop attacking it and let the fire conditions do the work later on. With my final action for the ranger, I'm going to choose to move, giving me 2 movement points plus 1 for the dashboard ability. Every time I take a move, I get an additional movement point based on the ranger. So I get 3, but I don't have to spend all 3, and I'm not going to. There's actually 2 things I could do here, and I don't want to do either of them for obvious reasons, which I'll point out in a second. I'm going to have my ranger run down here, and it's going to go 1 and 2 and stop in the darkness right here. Not going to open up the door with my final movement point, as I do not want to spawn another pile of enemies that will just trigger going into the enemy phase in a moment. That would be a bad idea. Also, using 3 movement to just run out to the open corridor is not a good idea because these individuals, the infernal imps, are actually carrying a ranged weapon, so they would be able to hit me from there. So I am going to stop myself right here. And just like that, I'm going to go ahead and flip over the activation token for the ranger. Ranger's turn is done. Heading into the enemy phase, we're now going to go ahead and activate mobs and roaming monsters. For mobs, we have 2. I can choose which order I want to activate them in. Might as well do the fire entities first because, well, I really want to see how the fire conditions pan out. For every fire token, you take a yellow die, and we're rolling them. If we see a single sword on any of them, that is enough to kill off the leader because every sword is going to be a damage. So I'm really, really hoping for lots of wounds here. Maybe we'll get an overkill, which does not matter, but it'd just be kind of funny. Oh yeah, that's way more than enough. So that was almost guaranteed. So that individual is gone. The good thing with this is that we have some loot to talk about. They were carrying a skeleton blade. The killing blow did come from the ranger, so the ranger is going to acquire the skeleton blade. I'm not going to place it on it though because I really want to keep the ranged ability here so I can still keep using the arrow card deck. Plus we're heading towards a corridor where we have enemies from range. So swapping this out right now is not really the best. I'll put this basically in my inventory for now. We are going to go up 1 because we killed off a minion, but then we go up an additional 2 because we took out a mob leader. But this additional 2 is applied to all of the heroes. So even the Berserker gets to go up by 2, bringing the Berserker from 1 to 3. The Infernal Imps are the next mob to activate. No condition tokens to resolve on these ones, so we can go right into the performing their 2 actions, and they're basically going to try to move until they can get in position to attack. So in this case, being that they're far, far away from any enemies, even though they have ranged as a weapon type to use, they still have to get within line of sight, and they're nowhere near line of sight right now, so they're going to basically head north twice. So the Infernal Imps are on the way. They've moved north twice. You also notice they went past a spike trap, but that does not activate on enemies at all. So that's it, and that's everybody resolved mob-wise. We don't have any roaming monsters currently. We go to the level up phase, and based on these tokens here, it'll tell us how much XP to go to the next level. It's 10. We're nowhere near that. Our heroes have 4 and 3. So we're just getting there, but not yet. So we now move to the darkness phase. Darkness track is pretty simplistic this time. It's just going to move from the first position to the second position and nothing will trigger. Next time though, a roaming monster is going to trigger, and that's the icon that's hiding behind that door right now. I'll go ahead and just move it so you can see. Basically when it hits 3 at the end of the next round, we're going to have a roaming monster coming into play. For round number 2, I'm going to have the ranger head right into the line of fire against those infernal imps. I want to be able to make some ranged attacks, so we're going to do a movement. I get 2 movement points plus the 1 from the dashboard off the ranger. Not going to need that much. I'm going to move east 1 position, and then I'm going to kick the door behind me open so the berserker has an easier and quicker path to get into the action. And just like that, we're now ready to make some attacks. Now, we do have 2 minions. The worst that can happen to me in a roll against these things is we get 2 direct wounds that come through. I have 4 health, so I should be okay. I just have to make sure, taking a look at the Infernal Imps card, there's nothing else that could really bolster that any further. So when attacking the Infernal Imps, it states here if they get one of those hand symbols on defense, which they'll be doing, they'll be rolling their black dice in defense, then they kill an imp, and then they deal 1 wound to each hero in the attacker's zone once per roll. So that is going to deal an additional hit, so 3. So this could be a problem. For now, I'm just going to go in and make the first attack and see if I can thin them out. They do need 3 health to be taken down, so it's going to take a little bit of effort to get through. And then once I hopefully get through with some good arrow shots, then the berserker can come through and terrorize things. I might need to use my potions, maybe even on both characters this round. I've gone ahead and assembled the dice pool, which is not looking good for me. And we're going to go ahead and roll these off and see how we do. Oh man, that's bad. That was like the worst possible roll I could have gotten. Okay, wow. So we're going to go ahead and draw some arrow cards here. So the first one off the top is 2. I will continue onwards. We need to knock off that shield at least so we get something through. That's 5. Do I risk it? I kind of want to risk it. Yes, a perfect shot. That's awesome. We got ourselves -2 shields, so this will not matter. We get a +2 sword. That is huge. This is 2 rerolls. And honestly, kind of want to use those rerolls to get rid of these because that's pretty nasty. We also technically, because we have for each 3 arrows revealed, we get minus shield. So really we have -2 plus another 2. So we have -4. So we really would be able to take away or chip away at the shields. So this is definitely out of the equation. In terms of these 2, I'm going to re-roll them right now and hope for blanks. So let's go ahead and do that. Oh, that just got worse. I don't think that changed at all. So let's re-roll. Let's re-roll that one again. Oh, okay, a little bit better, but not really. Okay, so we still have 1 wound coming through, so I take a hit from that. The other one is the killing of 1 imp and then dealing another wound to each hero in the attacker's zone. So I'm the only one in the attacker's zone, so just 1 for me, so I'm down to 2 health now. But at least one of the imps has been killed off, which is a plus. Just off camera, I've also bumped myself up to 5 XP. Now we get to actually try and see how many swords we have total. We have 1 here, +2 is 3, and this shield didn't count, so 3 through is the other minion killed off, which is awesome, bringing the ranger up to a total of 6 XP, and now only the leader remains. So those bullseye attacks are amazing. If you can trigger them off, they can be a lot of fun. You can see just having a single yellow die turned into something so much more with a perfect hit. This is a perfect time to actually use my health potion because I have 2 health and my maximum is 5, so why not? Let's go ahead and use the health potion, bring our health back up to 5, which is great, full health. And we're gonna go ahead and make that attack against the leader. So the leader's bringing in 1 blue die. And we have 1 yellow die, thanks to the short bow. We don't have to deal with any black dice because I killed off all the minions so far. And we got the arrow cards to draw from if we need them. All right, so that was not a very good hit at all. So we're going to go ahead and resolve some arrow cards here and see what we can make out of it. Holy, there's a 4 right there. So we could give a potential frost condition if we get a bullseye. I'm going to go 1 more and see how many arrows we have. Ooh, we got some rerolls. Oh, but we got to hit the bullseye to use it. We could also get 1 reroll right now. Tough to say. Tough to say. I really want to go 1 more. I really do. Let's go for it. Let's go for it. Yes, 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 yes. That's so sweet. Okay, so we get all of this across the top to resolve. So right off the hop here, I want to use my rerolls. I got 4 of them, so let's go ahead and reroll the yellow one and see what happens. Oh, that's not good. I've got 3 more to use. Okay, that's better. Let's try and... Actually, we don't have to worry about this because we have over 3 arrows, so my ability kills us off anyway. So the question is, do I want to re-roll this twice to try to get 2 swords? Let's do it one more time for fun. Okay, now do we want to risk it? What are the chances? I think it's on only one side. Oh, that's... Yeah, those odds are not good. I guess I don't really have to push it. Let's just stop right there. Let's stop right there, and we'll take the 1 hit through. So we'll go ahead and grab 1 heart, throw it on the Infernal Imp, and we're also going to go ahead and give that Defender one of the Frost tokens. And that's going to be it for the Ranger, and now the Berserker, thanks to the Ranger kicking the door open, is going to be able to come running through. But first, we probably want to pick up the loot token and the objective tokens. We're going to be using some movement, and then maybe we'll get in there for like a final attack. But first, if the Berserker is activating right now, we do have 1 fire condition on the Berserker, so unfortunately I do have to roll for that token. If it's a sword, that is a hit. So here's hoping that does not happen. We got 1 hit. So that is going to have the Berserker lose another health, down to 3 health now, but that health I just lost, which you can't see off screen, is going up into the rage area. So now a total of 4 rage. The Berserker is now going to activate and take a movement action, picking up the loot token in its space and then moving east 1. Now the Berserker has an ability here. If I spend 1 rage while in the correct stance, which I'm in right now, which is the reckless stance, I can spend a rage, which I just did, to gain 1 movement point, give me an additional point of movement, allowing me to pick up the objective token that's in the room I just moved to, all within the same action. And then of course I can also go down this list if I want as well, which I'm probably going to do because the next one is charge. And I can go ahead and spend 1 more rage in order to spend an attack action with the hero, which I'll do as my second action, to move 1 to 2 zones to a zone containing at least 1 enemy, and then perform a free melee attack. So literally, my Berserker picked up a loot token, moved 1 space, picked up the objective token, and is now full charging through the door down the corridor to that leader. Now the way in which the stances work, because there's 3 of them, and as you acquire more and more skills, they'll go in these columns underneath. If you want to change the stance, and you have to have the stance in the correct slot to use the abilities underneath of it, you're going to have to pay a rage to move it over. So it's going to cost you a rage to move it, then it's going to cost you a rage to actually interact with these abilities along the column. So you can use all this, and you can see also that with the Berserker, unlike the Wizard, wherever the Wizard uses something on its rotating dial, it has to continue rotating. The stance stays. It doesn't automatically rotate to the next slot. So it can sit here on Reckless, and we can just continually use what's in that column over and over and over again. Of course, once we get more and more abilities, we'll have a lot more shifting going on. So the Berserker picks up the objective token in the room, goes bursting through the door, right past the Ranger and into space with the leader Infernal Imp. And this attack is going to be very straightforward. It's an orange die for my crude axe against a blue die for the leader imp. Let's go ahead and see how we do. Oh, that's a solid hit from my Berserker. That's actually an awesome hit because I can go ahead, hit it twice. Actually, that's enough because the Infernal Imp leader already has 1 damage on it. So that is enough to kill off the leader. So I'm going to go ahead and bump up my Berserker by 1 XP to 4, and because we just took out a leader, both of the characters go up by 2 XP, so I go from 4 to 6 on the Berserker, and then coming over here to the Ranger, which is off screen, I'm going from 6 to an 8. That leader is gone, and the Berserker gets the loot off it. And we got a precision bow here, which pretty awesome. It says first range attack of the turn +1 yellow die. This is a great card. Even though the crude axe is rolling an orange die, I'm going to take this because this gives me abilities with the Berserker to be able to do some ranged attacks. It's a double-handed weapon though, so then I can't make use of this over here, but the crude axe was actually taking up both slots as well. So this is a decent trade-off. So we'll go ahead and place that in. A good weapon for sure. Now I have one final action remaining with my Berserker, and I really don't think moving forward is going to be a good idea. I only have 3 health with a Berserker. I probably should sit still and recover, use a recover action to get some health back up. That would be a good priority. Let me know in the comments below though, as we're going to end it off right here just before the hero phase ends. With this last action remaining for my Berserker, I want to see what you guys think I should do next. Do you think I should sit still and heal? Do you think I should head south with movement points and maybe crack open a door to a chamber which has a bunch of monsters and mobs inside of it? Probably not the best idea. My interpretation also of this quest is that this is an entire chamber right here, although it's deceivingly looking like it could be 2 chambers with a wall in between, but the walls typically are black, like they are black rimmed, and I don't see that happening in the middle, so I'm considering this one giant chamber. So if we crack a door in here, we're dealing with 2 mobs. Probably not the best idea. On top of that, just moments after my hero phase ends, the enemy phase will then begin. And then the enemy phase, we have no mobs, so we'd be safe there. We have no leveling up, so we move past that. We go to the darkness track, and a roaming monster would then pop out on the bridge here. So we have that to contend with. So another reason to likely sit tight. But let me know in the comments below what you think I should do next and what you think I should go into next. Should I try to jump into this chamber next? Should I try to focus on killing off the roaming monster and then go into the chamber? Getting down to this final rift area where the portal is the last priority, because we still need this objective token right here, this scroll. We got the first one up there. We need this one here. That's going to do it. That is literally everything as to where we're at right now. We're about halfway through this very first quest, which again is very much an introductory quest into the campaign. Thank you guys so much for watching. Really hope this is helping you get a good look at 2 of the new character classes inside of Massive Darkness 2 that I didn't cover in prior videos, and also more importantly, the campaign. And you'll join me hopefully as we continue past this quest into the town phase and then get into some of the meat of what happens in between the quests in future videos. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, keep on rolling solo.